Hey guys, welcome to video 16.4. Getting close to the end here. We're starting with the, it should be called The Allies Are Victorious. We're starting with our friend Dwight D. Eisenhower. Dwight D. Eisenhower is an important general, and when you go further in history, you'll learn that he's later an American president. He's the general who led the Allied forces in Western Europe. He commanded Operation Torch, which helps beat Rommel in North Africa. He led the D-Day invasion, and again later became an American president. He is an out-and-out rock star. He is the man. All right, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at, by 1942, look at how much Germany's taken over. You can see Japan has taken over in this area, and the war is going very well for the Allies. For the Axis at this point. The Allies are in trouble. All right. So that leads us to the Battle of Stalingrad. It's a battle between Germany and the Soviets from 1942 to 43. The Russian winner sets in. The Soviets launch a counterattack. 90,000 frostbitten and starving Germans surrendered to the Soviets. That was Hitler's huge mistake. You never attack Russia in the winter. Soviets lose over 1 million soldiers in the battle, but force Germany to take the defensive in USSR. So remember, if you're ever going to try to take over the world, don't attack the Soviet Union in the winter. This was the ultimate stab in the back. Hitler stabbed Stalin in the back, and it's a violation of the Nazi-Soviet pact. And you get this Battle of Stalingrad. This is the picture of the battle in Stalingrad. Pretty morbid stuff. This leads to the invasion of Italy. You're going to often hear this word, and don't pick on me here, the soft underbelly. That says soft underbelly. Instead of trying to attack this way or any other way, what they decided to do was to attack through. Allied forces attacked Sicily, captured German Italian forces. This led to the overthrow of Mussolini and the surrender from the Italians. Mussolini tried to escape as a disguised as a German, but was ambushed by Italian resistance fighters who shot him. His body was brought to Milan, where he was hung upside down on meat hooks at gas stations for citizens to throw rocks at. So again, important invasion of Italy, soft underbelly. The Allies decide to attack this way. What's also important is what happens to Mussolini. The body of Mussolini's mistresses were taken to Milan, hung upside down, and civilians spit at it, threw things at it. They didn't like Mussolini. At home, this is really controversial. During the war, FDR authorized the imprisonment of Japanese and Japanese Americans. So some Japanese Americans were in the army willing to fight, and then in California and New Mexico, you see these internment camps, these holding cells. And the concern was after Pearl Harbor, this severe amount of anti-Japanese sentiment comes up, and you see that. These are American posters. That's by Dr. Seuss. So you can see there's an incredible flood of racism. So let's go back to the war in Europe. This is what the Nazis controlled by 1942. All right, they're doing pretty well. The Allies decide to come up with a new plan. If you look, there's nowhere for the Allies to start their attack. They come up with this idea to attack this area here, and what that's called is D-Day. It's referred to as Operation Overlord. The D in D-Day actually physically stands for nothing. Eisenhower commanded British, American, French, Canadian troops using planes, tanks, and landing crafts. German fought back with machine gun. Of the forces alone, 2,000, 7,000 men died on the beaches that day. By September, the Allies had successfully liberated Paris. So this summer, when you're chillaxing, think about all summer, the Allies are slowly but surely landing here. Well, that happened fast. But slowly but surely fighting this way until they can get to Paris. As our boat touched the ramp, I became a visitor to hell. That's one soldier's description of the landing. These are American soldiers in a landing vehicle This hill is held by Germans, but technically it's in what we would know as France. This is what they saw. If you're thinking, damn, that looks like Saving Private Ryan, it does, because that's what the movie was based on. Just a few days ago, we had Memorial Day. This picture reminds us why we celebrate it. So we're coming towards the end of the war. The Battle of the Bulge. Again, no cheap shots at me, please. The battle in which the Allied forces turned back the last major offensive. The Germans are hoping, by attacking this way, they could split the Allies in half. Taking the Allies off guard, the Germans created a bulge in the Allied lines before the Allies were pushing back. The Germans had no reinforcements and they were able to retreat. Important thing about the Battle of the Bulge, it's the last attempt by the Germans to attack and be aggressive. By 1945, the Allies powers had pushed the German forces back into Germany. The Americans were to the west. The Soviets were to the east. They're kind of doing this sort of Malachi crunch. The battle for Berlin began, and Hitler kills himself as defeat was inevitable. Here's Hitler and his lover, Eva Braun. Here's an alleged picture of Hitler killing himself. And him and Eva killed themselves in a bunker by ingesting poison. On March 7th, 1945, the Third Reich, Germany surrenders. VE Day means victory in Europe. So we got to go to the Pacific. Basically what happened is the Japanese start running out of weapons. So they used kamikaze, Japanese suicide pilots that would sink Allied ships by crashing their plane into them. American Marines take Iwo Jima and Okinawa. Again, very bloody. It's so bloody it leads to the decision to use the atomic bomb. Alright? And by September 2nd, 1945, you get VJ Day, which means victory in Japan. Kamikazes again. The Battle of Leyte Gulf was disastrous for the Japanese. The Japanese were forced to rely on their army and their kamikaze pilots. The Allies, basically, the president, as it says here, President Truman, because during the war, FDR dies. So Truman takes over and basically, like, your president, oh, by the way, we have this terrible, terrible weapon. It was developed with the Manhattan Project, and he uses it. And when the Japanese resign, they say, moreover, the enemy now possesses a new and terrible weapon with the power to destroy innocent lives and do incalculable damage. Should we continue to fight, not only would it result in ultimate collapse and obliteration of the Japanese nation, but it would also lead to total extinction of human civilization. September 2nd, 1945, Douglas MacArthur accepts their surrender, and that is now celebrated as VJ Day. So this one was a fairly quick one. Let's just be real quick and recap. What do you need to know? Stalingrad. Hitler attacks Stalin. Big mistake, they do it during the winter. Invasion of Italy, Operation Torch, soft underbelly. You got to know that America interned our Japanese citizens. You've got to know D-Day. D-Day is the main turning point. See this map in 1942. By 1945, the Germans have been pushed back. When we did these pictures with D-Day, 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 1944 to 1945, at the end of the war, you need to know the Battle of the Bulge. After the Battle of the Bulge, it's all over. The Germans surrender. Hitler kills himself. You go to Japan. What do you need to know about Japan? You need to know Leyte Gulf. You need to Iwo Jima, Okinawa. Because Leyte, Iwo, and Oka were so bloody, the Americans are convinced that they have to use the atomic bomb to end the war. Very controversial decision. One I'm hoping we have time to debate in class. Peace. See you later.